October 13th, 1996, and a woman named Sharon Lopatka is boarding an overnight train traveling from Maryland to North Carolina. Now, while traveling hundreds of miles to a different state, Sharon doesn't look prepared. She didn't even bring a suitcase or another set of clothes. The only thing she has in her hand is a one-way ticket, meaning that she's not planning on returning to her home state anytime soon. After 8 hours, she finally reaches her destination and sees a man waiting for her. Now she's filled with joy and excitement because both of them have an agreement to fulfill her wildest dreams. This is the horrific story of Sharon Lopatka, the woman who fantasizes about being murdered. September 1961. Sharon is born as the oldest of 4 daughters. She grew up in an Orthodox Jewish household in Baltimore. The whole family is very religious, with Sharon's father serving as the member of the synagogue. While in school, many classmates of hers see her as a pretty normal girl who sings in the choir and plays a bunch of sports. However, as she grows older, she becomes more resentful towards the strict rules of her father and her family's religion. Later in 1991, she goes on to marry a man named Victor, who's also a construction worker. Now, her family views this as an act of defiance, because her husband is Catholic. However, the reason why Sharon did this is because she wanted to escape the grasp and control of her family. The couple then moves to Ellicott City, Maryland. Over the course of the next few years, the two raise their 3 kids on a 2-story ranch house where Sharon loves taking part in gardening and walking her dogs. When she's not taking care of the house, however, she's stuck to her computer. She became attracted towards the internet since it was still a very new thing at the time, and she then tries finding ways to make money online. At first, she sells home decoration guides, advertising spaces, psychic advice, and eventually, sexual things. She does this by making multiple online profiles, each with its unique bio and pictures, in an attempt to catfish men on adult websites. Once she chats with them, however, she offers services such as chatting, exclusive pictures, and even her underwear in exchange for money. Now, she finds these types of men by searching through multiple fetish forums and websites. But as she goes deeper into the rabbit hole, she becomes completely consumed by online forums that talk about death and sexual violence. On one of these forums, she makes a post under the name Gina108. I want to talk about death. I fantasize about being tortured to death. Is that weird? She then posts under this name 50 times on various message rooms to find someone who shares her disturbing interests. However, another user responds to one of Sharon's posts, stating that these fantasies are a bit concerning and that they should not come to life and are very dangerous. However, Sharon replies with, I didn't ask for you to preach to me. I want the real thing. In August of 1996, she ultimately decides to live out her dark fantasies, where she flies out to New Jersey to meet with a man that she met online. When Sharon arrives, however, she's met with disappointment because the man stated that he didn't know that she was actually serious and backs out of his agreement to kill her. Robert Glass, also known as Buddy, is a computer analyst in North Carolina. His wife is becoming resentful of him because he's spending more time on his computer than he does with her and her 3 kids. She eventually divorces him after she logs into his computer and finds multiple disturbing messages that are sexual in nature between him and a different woman. He goes by the username Toyman, and the woman, Gina108. The two are fascinated by the same disturbing desires, so they exchange messages for many months until October 13th, 1996, where the woman, Sharon, decides to hop on a train to see him in North Carolina. A week later, on October 20th, and Sharon's husband Victor hasn't heard from his wife in a week. The last thing she told Victor was that she was going to see some friends in Georgia and that he has nothing to worry about. However, Victor's anxiety starts to grow the longer he hasn't heard from Sharon, so he starts rummaging across his house to find any hints about his wife's whereabouts. He eventually finds a note that says that she's not coming back, with the last line saying, "If my body is never retrieved, don't worry. Know that I am at peace." Victor then immediately calls the police, and when they search Sharon's computer, they find 900 pages of messages between her and a user named Toyman. This reveals that Sharon was living a second life hidden away from her husband. The messages detail all the disturbing and morbid acts that they hope to perform on each other. Luckily, police are able to trace the address of Toyman to a home in North Carolina. They then contact the local sheriff's department. However, nobody takes the case seriously because the thought of a woman traveling 400 miles to be consentfully killed is very unlikely. Thankfully, they set up surveillance cameras to keep a close watch on Robert Glass's home, with the first few days being perfectly normal. Nonetheless, on October 25th, police were able to retrieve a search warrant for his trailer. Inside, they find various weapons, computer disks, photos of minors, and other items that belong to a woman. Now, around 75 feet from the trailer, police discover a pile of dirt. They begin digging through it, and just 2 feet in, they find a knee. And it turns out to be the body of Sharon Lopatka. Robert then admits to police that when he picked her up at the train station, he had the intention of having sexual relations. But when it actually came to it, he didn't want to go that far when she choked to death. Now, the autopsy report states that this is likely true because there were no intentional injuries on Sharon's body, only marks around her neck. The examiner then rules her death as an accidental asphyxiation. However, the court case that happened afterwards was a bit strange. Robert's lawyers then argued that Sharon's death was completely consensual, where she received what she wanted. After many years of legal battles, Robert pleads guilty to voluntary manslaughter on January 27, 2000, where he's sentenced to 4 years in jail for the death of Sharon Lopatka.